my name is Kimmy. The purpose of this channel is to help prepare you to love well and to avoid abuse. If you think we can do a better job with love and relationship than we're doing today, then you found the right place. Today's topic is some weapons that we have against manipulation in relationship. I'm going to be really honest with you and say that it has been gray and rainy all day as I film this. This is not exactly a sunshine and light topic, but if we aren't equipped to recognize and push back people who are manipulative, whether it's in our intimate personal relationships or just relationships in general, we will never have control over the way that our relationships develop or even what kind of relationships we choose, because we'll just be putty in somebody else's hands. And if those hands aren't healthy, if they don't have character and intentionality, we're going to find ourselves in deep trouble. Here at Worth the War, we're here to prepare you for healthy love and relationships. So let's get started by identifying some things that we can do when we meet or get to know or even care about a manipulative personality. The first weapon that we have at our disposal is a solid understanding of our own story. If we know our own story, nobody else then can come in and change that or take that from us. Practical way that people manipulate us by messing with our story is to mess with our history. Sometimes we might be a little bit soft about the way that we view our history or we define things or even put things in chronological order. Someone who's manipulative gets a real power trip by messing with that, injecting certain things that you don't even remember or seeming to get you to agree to things that maybe you've never even said. This idea of not knowing your own history kind of leaves you open for someone to create a history. It also can allow us to be manipulated in the way that we see the people in our lives. It's kind of an opening for people to make us feel more isolated. So have a grasp of your own history before you enter into any relationship so that if someone tries to mess with it, you recognize it. Another area to have clarity on is in your goals. The hallmark of a healthy relationship is that your goals actually get achieved and you actually can maintain them together and then you encourage one another to achieve them. The hallmark of an unhealthy relationship is you enter into it with goals, but halfway in, you actually can't remember what they were. The reason for that is pretty straightforward. Manipulative personalities actually get a thrill out of seeing someone who is a high-value achiever, someone who does have goals and dreams and works really hard, give up all of that just for the relationship. Often what they find is they don't even remember when it started to happen, but what their goals and dreams were started to change. One really practical way that you can be sure that a manipulative person doesn't get a hold of your hopes and dreams is to make sure that you actually keep a tab on them. It doesn't matter whether it's a journal that you keep or maybe it's just a note on your phone, but you should always have in the back of your mind what it is that you're shooting for, things that you're hoping for. If you find yourself not revisiting those, if you find yourself having shared things with people that you wanted and all of a sudden they're asking you, you used to really care about this and you just don't anymore. If the people that we trust notice that our dreams and our goals are changing and we don't really have a good reason and we really don't have anything that's replacing them, then maybe what's happening is we're actually having them manipulated out of our lives. And the only reason that we should be changing goals or dreams is because we choose to. The second weapon we have against manipulative personalities in our relationships is having a solid grip on our insecurities. If we don't, we are absolutely vulnerable to manipulative personalities in our relationships. One way to protect yourself from somebody coming in and using your own insecurities against you, take the time to inventory the areas of your life that you are insecure in, and we all are insecure about certain things. Think about yourself in terms of your physical form, your ability to have an intellectual conversation. Maybe it might be the way that you handle things emotionally. It could be your work ethic. The list goes on and on about areas that we might find ourselves insecure in. So if you have a solid handle of what those are and you realize that everybody else does too, you're going to have a pretty healthy idea of the things that you can do to shore those up so that they aren't super vulnerable, but also to be generous to yourself. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is strong in every area. But if you meet someone and when you bring them into your life, you find them in quiet ways, sometimes they'll even say it just joking after they do it, they poke at these insecurities to see how you'll react. This kind of subtle testing cannot be ignored. If somebody, whether they say they're sorry or they're just kidding after it, is constantly coming and finding ways to get into these little windows of insecurities in your life, it's a very big warning that this person would rather have you be uncomfortable than to feel safe. The fourth weapon that you have against manipulation in relationships is that you can require and maintain constancy in your relationships. If you are in a relationship and the goalpost of them being happy consistently is moving, that is an indicator that this person will never be satisfied, that they really like to watch you dance to make them happy. When goalposts move, it means you can never win the game. This idea of requiring constancy in your relationship is also a weapon against manipulation when it's applied to the emotional well-being of a relationship. If you require that the two of you work together to find a peaceful way to coexist and have a peaceful life together, someone who is manipulating you with their emotions isn't going to be able to be successful. What we find is that people who are manipulators, they often use their emotions to dictate the path your life is going to take. So if you recognize it, identify it, and get yourself away from it, you're not going to be able to be manipulated by their emotions. So we've talked about how requiring constancy in our relationship actually protects us against manipulation. We talked about it in the terms of the moving goalposts. We shouldn't always be scrambling to make somebody happy. We talked about it in the idea of the emotional roller coaster. The last area is in this area of communication. We should be able to expect that any subject that we're discussing with this person won't change until we've given permission to do so. We should both be able to feel like the subject has been covered. If you're constantly feeling like someone's changing the subject on you, whether just to direct it or to deflect blame for something that's being discussed, that's a sure sign that they are much more concerned about manipulating you than they are about communicating with you. One of the greatest tools in the hand of a manipulator or an abuser are your fears, the things that scare you, the things that you're afraid of. Manipulators love fear because they can control you with them. The most common way that a manipulator will use your fear against you is to figure out what are those fears that are looming out there that terrify you and threaten to do those things if you don't do exactly what they say. They can actually make you do things you would never consider doing just to avoid whatever those things are. So if you're afraid of rejection or abandonment, if you're afraid something will happen to somebody in your life, if they start to threaten those things, you're going to dance for them. Remember, whatever your fears are, if you get them out into the light and you speak truth to those things, if you actually know that in reality, odds of those things happening are very low, or you could get help, or that you would actually survive them if they did, you have less places that manipulators can dig in and get to you. If you implement these, you should have a much better shot at recognizing and preventing the damage of manipulative people in your life. This video goes hand in hand with one we just completed that is asking the question, are you ready for a relationship? I'll pop that in the notes below. I hope you found something here useful. Worth the War is here to help prepare you for healthy love and relationship, and we are determined to leave the generation that follows us in a better place when it comes to these things than we are now. I hope you'll join us by subscribing, by following in the different arenas that we're in right now. We are developing resources to make a change and make a dent on the modern culture today. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you could be a lot of other places. Have a great rest of your day.